Sup? What's poppin', YouTube boys? My name is Sculpted. Welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. Bear with me. Recording YouTube videos is something that I myself do not do very often, but I really wanted to start dipping my toes into the water in regards to it. If you take a look through my channel, I've obviously uploaded videos before. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fanatic. I love Monster Hunter. However, my game preferences have been changing as of recently, and I was very passionate about something that came out as of recently, or something that I played here earlier that I really wanted to make some videos for. So all that being said, I wanted to go ahead and make a video here today about a little game called DNF Duel, and it's open beta. Actually, it's second open beta that happened here early April. I want to say anywhere between like the 1st and the 4th, so it ended just a couple days ago. I'm a little late to the video, so again, still dipping my toes in the water here. So anyway, I have some talking points here on a fancy Word document, and this video I wanted it to be more so targeted to those who are casuals to fighting games, or those who are just, you know, play fighting games just kind of for the fun of it, or, you know, may have an interest in it but never, you know, go too deep into fighting games in general. So really more or less a beginner's thoughts, because I myself am actually a huge beginner when it comes to fighting games as a whole. Actually, I only just developed a passion and an interest in fighting games just this past year. I got into Dragon Ball Fighters earlier this year, and I played a tiny bit of Street Fighter 5, but not nearly enough. Dragon Ball Fighters seemed to have been a huge fighting game that brought in people from everywhere, from multiple games, and just the FGC, the fighting game community as a whole in general. And ever since I started playing Dragon Ball Fighters, even though it was at its end of life state, I had a bunch of fun and I developed a huge interest in it. So anyway, we're not here to talk about Dragon Ball Fighters. I just wanted to at least put that disclaimer that I'm not an expert in fighting games. I'm not super educated on fighting games, which is why I think this is a perfect opportunity to make a video for you guys, those of you who may play fighting games a little bit, or just like them, and, you know, may be curious in DNF Duel and how it played, and, you know, just the thoughts of someone who is new to this kind of stuff. So without further ado, here's my casual or beginner's thoughts on the DNF Duel Beta 2. So I guess to go ahead and get this started, so I did personally end up missing out on the first open beta that happened, I want to say like in November, December-ish, around that area. This is my first time experiencing the game was through the second open beta, and I really want to make this short, sweet, and simple and get straight to the point. So I know you guys' time is valuable, and there's a lot of people trying to bait for minutes on YouTube videos, and I'm not too worried about that myself. So I got you guys. So first things, I just want to get out of here, get out of the way, man. We already know this, okay? The graphics of the game are beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, okay? The animations are super cool. They're freaking amazing. They're awesome. The character designs are very interesting. Every person is unique. Everyone is fun to play. No one is boring, to say the least. Some people may look a little basic, but at the same time, it works in their favor because they still just have these personalities to them, which is so interesting, because the name of the characters are not even names. They're just the names of classes. So for example, like, you don't have someone by the name of John or Mr. Wick. It's literally like Ranger and Fighter and not Fighter, Striker and Berserker. So DNF Duel is a fighting game that was established around or from the world of Dungeon Fighter Online, which is a huge Korean-based like MMORPG gacha RNG game that like sucks the money out of you. So anyway, thank God this game is nothing like that, and it's a fighting game, a 2D platform fighting game, anime styled by Arc System Works, which is a fantastic company in and of itself when it comes to, you know, developing these fighting games. And then the other thing too is that those things that I just mentioned, you know, the graphics, the animations, you know, the character designs, all of that is easily determined by simply looking at the game. So there's not a whole lot that we need to discuss on that. So if you're wanting to play a pretty game, DNF Duel 100% is that. Now, the next point I want to talk about is, how does the game feel? Is it fast or slow? Based on what is it based on in terms of skill level? Like, honestly, here's the best way that I can explain it. You know, again, being as beginner of a person when it comes to fighting games in general, DNF Duel is so freaking fun. It is amazingly fun, stupid fun. Like, the whole time that you're playing the game, it is just dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. As someone who just has not played a bunch of fighting games, I mean, other than like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is again a huge game with a bunch of big moves and super moves and stuff like that and whatnot, DNF Duel was even more fun than that, honestly. Even though Dragon Ball FighterZ is faster paced and like there's more super moves you can do, it just felt oversaturated and stuff. Like, there's so much going on, so you know, there was a lot more time you had to focus on thinking or like focusing on what you're doing, that you didn't really get the time to just kind of take in and absorb and just enjoy you know, just what's happening in the game as you would in DNF Duel. So it's just everything that happens, the sounds, the visuals, the anime, you know, just the way the game plays. It's just so fun. Everything about it was just enjoyable, which that's really the best way I can explain it when it comes to how does it feel. And now, whether it's fast or slow paced, so this is the really interesting thing about DNF Duel, is that it is like, to me, in my opinion, I feel like DNF Duel can either be, and again, we're still so early into the game. The game isn't even released yet. There's not even a training mode, right? We all just were playing online and learning things as we went. But it can be the fastest paced fighting game like ever, or it can be the slowest, because there were some matches that I played and you know, I'm going to be uploading videos for you guys of the matches that I experienced, and even like clips of my stream when I was streaming the game over at twitch.tv/sculpted. If you guys wanted to go check that out. I stream every day, Monday through Friday, so would love to have you guys. But that being said, it could be the fastest or slowest game ever based on the kind of people you're playing against, because even though the combo strings, or just the way or the routes that you can take when going into combos, which the combos are not super long, people can either do really short combos that do massive amounts of damage, or really long combos that do even more damage but just take longer to do. So it's in, of course, you got beginners fighting each other who barely know much, and you know, they're kind of just kicking each other in the toes a little bit, trying to get any damage they can. So there is that too. I think it's a great game for those who are beginners or those who are experienced in fighting games, to say the least. But I'm gonna make a separate video on that. I want to focus more so for the beginners. So this game is very, very easy to pick up. It is very, very easy to learn. It is very, very easy to play, and honestly to get better at. Because it's just the attacks are so simple, straightforward, and basic, but that doesn't make it any less fun. That doesn't make it any less enjoyable. And I would even say that for, you know, those who are experienced in fighting games and have played a lot of fighting games. Like, I really feel like this DNF Duel game is going to be a huge breath of fresh air. Just based off of the knowledge that I do have, you know, just looking at other fighting games and how those ones played and what those ones are like. So DNF Duel really feels like a whole new beast. And I'm really excited to see where it comes from that. So the next points that I have here is that how does the game play? And the answer to that is that the DNF Duel is super loose. And I know it's kind of a weird way to kind of put that. It's like it's very freeing. Like it's just like everything is up in the air. And so what I mean when I say this is that from Dragon Ball Fighters that I played, which is a pretty loose game to a certain degree, like you have a lot of options, right? When it comes to the things that you do, but at the same time, Dragon Ball Fighters is a game where you kind of follow a route until you get a hit, and then you do whatever you want from there. And it's always kind of like a my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn kind of thing, you know, to some degree. But DNF Duel, man, like it's a game where everyone is just, you know, pushing buttons, and again, people are still figuring things out. Everyone's just pushing buttons, just taking their turns back over and over and over, you know, just doing random stuff, and everything like links together. Like you can pretty much push any combination of buttons and things are gonna happen, big things, and they're either gonna work in your favor or they're not. But it's like you don't feel limited, because how the game works is that you do have like an ABC button combo that like just very straightforward stuff, and obviously you have your lows and your mids and your not so much highs. I realized that there's no high hits that you can do unless you're jumping, so that's very interesting. So pretty much if you're attacking someone while they're on the ground, you just hold back, you know, back down or the block button, and you're not gonna get hit pretty much. So it's very funny. So it's very friendly in that regard, that, you know, it's very if you play defensive, it actually kind of tends to work out in your favor most of the time, unless you get grabbed. But that's going deeper into the game. But yeah, so but the part that makes the game super loose and super fun, and like the part when I was saying huge dopamine hits the whole time that you're playing, is that you do have this mana gauge, like this MP bar, that is, you use mana or MP skills, and with all the characters, to some degree, you're able to chain MP skill after MP skill after MP skill, as long as you have the mana to do it. And you can just keep going until you run out. And so that means that, like, when you are playing defensive, sometimes it's hard to tell when someone's aggression is gonna start, or but when it does start, when the hell it's going to end, because they can just decide to stop and just save their MP, or just keep going and run out of MP, and hopefully they open you up in that time, and you have the freedom to do that. And the MP skills are super big and super flashy, just in your face, and cover up the whole screen, and it's just like, it's really, really cool and a lot of fun. So honestly, that's just really the best way that I can explain it. Even though the game in and of itself is a super grounded game, like there is a jump, but most of the time you don't want to jump unless you know that it's safe to do so, because you can't block in the air, and the jump is pretty slow. Like you jump up, you jump down, and it's very easy to see that they're doing that. So if you just have a good reaction time and the person's not expecting you, you can jump and hit them too, or just do a big ass move with one of your MP skills that covers the whole screen in front of you, and then you hit them out of the air anyway. So it is a very grounded game, and the movement speed on the ground, depending on the characters that you pick, can feel super, super, super slow. But the thing is that it really doesn't matter how slow you move in the game, because all of the moves that all these characters do cover the whole screen, or your moves make your MP skills or your special moves make you move across the screen. Like some characters have command dashes and stuff. So honestly, I hardly see people running or walking. I just see them doing big ass screen moves and covering the whole screen, or just dashing, or even the game has a roll that you can do as well, which has some recovery animations, but it's still a cool mechanic. So that's the only part that doesn't feel like loose and as enjoyable. But again, the big moves that you can do that cover the screen, cover the whole area, like that's like the stuff that people do, and that's what feels super loose and super fun. So that being said, that's really about it. I mean, the only other things I can really say is, so I want to give my personal thoughts of the game, again, as a beginner player, is that here are my thoughts as a beginner player. or someone who's new to the fighting game community and is getting into it in just in general, is that I personally, as you guys saw, again, as a reminder, I have a bunch of YouTube videos on my channel for Monster Hunter, which I'm very passionate about. But never have I actually been this excited for a game before, and a fighting game especially. I came from Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is being my main experience into the fighting games community. And you know what was really funny about it is that when I was transitioning from Dragon Ball FighterZ to playing the beta for DNF Duel, it was super easy. The character that I mained in DNF Duel was the Striker. And the reason why I did that, and the reason why I gravitated to her so quickly, and actually picked her up very easily, like you guys will see when I upload like my my gameplay videos, that I was smacking people around. I was beating people up with Striker, and again, I put in about 450 hours or so into Dragon Ball FighterZ into this last year. I got up pretty high in the rankings. I mean, I'm not the highest, and rankings technically don't really matter. All I know is that my experience with Dragon Ball FighterZ transitioned over to DNF Duel with Striker as a character, specifically because Striker has jump cancels. She has reverse beat, which is, what reverse beat is it's a terminology used for when characters have a light, medium, and a heavy attack. So typically they go light, medium, heavy, but Striker's different. She can go medium, light, heavy, or she can go light, heavy, medium, or whatever, light, whatever. She can go in any combination that she wants, and can actually go like light, heavy, light, like. So anyway, so she has reverse beat. She has jump cancels, which means that pretty much out of any attack that she does, she can jump out of it, and which is very, very, very similar to how Dragon Ball FighterZ was. So I had a feeling that, after watching other people's videos on DNF Duel and just looking up more information about it, that would be the character that I should play. And God, man, transitioning from Dragon Ball FighterZ to playing Striker literally was like playing. It was like I was like playing a Dragon Ball FighterZ character, but in DNF Duel, which wasn't fair, because then to me it felt like I had 450 hours of experience in DNF Duel, but while people are still just getting into the beta for the first time, or the second time if they played the beta initially. But the point being is that if you played any other fighter game, whether it be Street Fighter, whether it be Marvel versus Capcom, because I know that game is super used to using giant ass moves that cover the screen, and that you could rapid fire them out like crazy, to some degree. If you ever played Dragon Ball FighterZ, if you played I don't know, like Grand Blue Fantasy, right? Grand Blue Fantasy versus, like, I feel like no matter what game you would have played in the past, there are characters that play or in a way, or have like mechanics that are very similar to characters that you may have played in either of those games, which makes the transition really nice, because then you can just take your experience over and then just have a bunch of fun, and and not feel like you're going into this game that is super complicated because the combo strings are super long, or to do combos, the timing to do the combos are super tight, which at times they can be. But like things like Street Fighter 5, like I know that game is intense when it comes to like how quickly you have to do inputs and when specifically to do them in order to land the optimal combos, which to me isn't the most fun, especially when you have to worry about like netcode and how good the delay, or like how bad the delay is. Which, speaking of which, totally forgot to even mention, DNF Duel has rollback netcode, and goddamn that netcode worked great. There was zero problems. Everybody I fought, it was a smooth experience. I had no complications with it. Even when fighting someone at like a 9-frame rollback netcode, it was still a fun experience. And even though they were kind of teleporting around the screen and it was hard to see what was happening, for the most part it was still good. So the netcode in this game is fantastic. So no delay based netcode, it's all rollback, and that means you can play anyone in the world and pretty much have a good time, and not feel like you're being held back because of that. But anyway, the last point that I wanted to make was, how does this game compare to other fighting games? And I kind of already mentioned this a little bit. You know, the fact that the game has characters that you can play that are similar to how, you know, other fighting games are played. But the other thing I wanted to say, to put it in simple but complicated terms of excuse me, sorry, the best way for me to put it is how to, in regards to how to compare this to other games outside of just the fact that characters play in very similar ways as other games do, is that this game is very much so a grounded game where you're constantly trying to poke each other's toes, you know, doing your little kicks, you know, when they're done attacking you while you're blocking, and punishing whiffed attacks. So even though there are attacks that are full screen, like especially with me as a striker main, the way she plays and the way that most people, other people will play, is that you want to bait out people's big half screen or 3/4 screen moves so that you can then run in and strike them, or you just walk up a little bit because let's say you were just a step out of range from their big 3/4 screen move. You take a couple steps forward, or you can roll forward, and then you do your 3/4 of a screen move. So yeah, whiff punishes in this game are massive, and I would go as far as to say that that's about like 80% of the game. I mean, once you get up close and personal and you want to continue, you know, continue your pressure, continue your Oki, and just continue attacking the person while they're in a corner, I mean, that's going to happen. But most of the time, characters have moves that then knock you away and put you at full screen. So then you go back to worrying about whiff punishing and just doing your big screen moves, and hopefully you block theirs or dodge theirs or are out of range of theirs, so you can then punish them. So even though there's no blocking while in the air, which there are some really cool moves you can do in the air as well. So there's special moves you can do while in the air. The thing is that you are going to want to stay on the ground most of the time, and the way that you're playing this is just staying out of range and then getting in range, but you're still 3/4 of the screen away and, you know, punishing their misses. So that really is how the game plays. But again, man, I cannot stress enough how fun this game was, how easy it was to pick up, how beautiful the game is, how enjoyable the experience as a whole was, how good the netcode is. Like, I had for a beta, this was a phenomenal experience, and I wish it was longer. I wish it didn't go away, but the only real thing that I would change about it, and granted there's only so much that can be said about the beta, because it is a beta, but the only thing I hope that there is because the game does use a lobby system where you sit at little arcade machines as little chibi characters, where you would sit at an arcade machine, so then that way you fight the player that's sitting at the other side of the arcade machine. So I just hope that they will make sure to add like a simple search for a random player through a ranked system, or just a player fight system, so you don't always have to do the arcade machines or whatever. That's the only things I hope that they make sure to add. But beyond that, the beta was freaking amazing and a lot of fun, and I feel like those of you who, you know, again, are casuals or just beginners, or those who just kind of play games for, you know, the fighting games for fun, I highly encourage you guys to give this game a shot. I don't think you guys would be disappointed. It doesn't feel like a party game. It doesn't feel unbalanced or unfair. Everyone feels OP, which then makes the games fun, but then also makes the game feel balanced because everyone has their crazy ass moves. So that's really about it. I hope this helps. I hope you guys found this video enjoyable. It seemed to have been a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, so I apologize for that. There's just so much to say about it, and again, I'm going to upload more videos. I feel like the next one I'm going to do is more or less my thoughts as an experience fighting game player, because again, as much as I am a beginner, I feel like I'm starting to understand fighting games to the point to where I can provide some useful information and thoughts on this stuff to a more intermediate to potentially expert level. Not quite professional, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So anyway, I really hope that you guys found this video to be of value. And I will see you guys in the next one.